Hello my dear students, in this video we will continue the gamete transfer and the succeeding events. Okay, so first I'll ask a question to you. So find out the answer for this. Why there is a large number of male gametes are produced in algae, bryophytes and pteridophytes. What is the reason? Because during the transfer, there is a chances of loss of gametes because due to the water or sometimes any other medium cannot carry all the gametes to the female gametes. So to compensate that loss, a large number of male gametes are released among the or produced in some of the algae, bryophytes, pteridophytes, etc. Now let us see how the gamete transfer takes place in flowering plants or in the seed plants. So first thing, which are the male gamete carrier and which is a female gamete carrier, we'll see. In seed plants, pollen grains carries the male gamete, whereas stigma, that is, it has egg which has a female gamete in it. Here, very familiar process will be knowing. I'll have drawn the diagram already here. You can make out and you can guess what is the process I am going to explain using this diagram. So what is that process which helps in the transfer of the pollen grains from anther to the stigma, or what is the process is called as pollination. So define pollination. What is pollination? It is a process of transfer of male gametes from anther to the stigma. So what is the importance of this pollination here? It helps in carrying the male gametes to the female gametes. Okay. Now I'll explore how to understand. There are two types of pollination as there. What are the two types of pollination? Self-pollination and cross-pollination. How do you know about that? Do you know about the types of pollination, where it occurs and all? Two types of pollination is there. It is self-pollination and cross-pollination. See, the self-pollination occurs in a bisexual plant. Okay, it occurs in a bisexual plant. That means which has both the male and female flowers or female reproductive, or both the reproductive organs are present in the same plant. For example, in pea plant. Okay, in pea plant, you can see self-pollination. So how does this self-pollination occurs? Okay, why this pollen grains and stigma has to be pollen grains has to reach to the egg? For which process they have to follow this process? What is the coming process you are going to study after the gamete transfer? It is for the fertilization. So all these events are taking place to ensure the fertilization. So self-pollination. See, these are the anthers. Okay, anthers means they produce the pollen grains. This is a stigma. So anthers are transferred to the stigma of the same flower. Then this is called as self-pollination. Now, another type of pollination is that the transfer of pollen grains from one flower to the another flower of the same species. Can be of the same plant, can be of the different plant, but it has to be the same species, between the same species. Then this pollination we call it as cross-pollination. Okay. So in next chapter, you will study in detail about these two types of pollination. So how does this self-pollination can be made it easy. See, for example, they'll be located in the same flower. So bisexual flower, why they have evolved such a mechanism? See, plants know from which part or from which flower I have to take the pollen grain from, or they are evolved by nature itself to bring that fertilization. So to ensure the self-pollination, so anthers and stigma are located too close to each other, and once the pollen grains are shed, they will come and contact on the stigma of the same flower. Now what happens after once the transfer of pollen grains takes place? These events you have studied in your first PUC again. Can you name that process which you have studied? That is angiosperms, fertilization in angiosperms. In that you have studied double fertilization. You know, remembering the double fertilization, we have studied in using the schematic representation. So in that case, okay, so what happens after the anthers, pollen grains reaches to the stigma? Once the pollen grains reaches to stigma, the pollen tube carries the male gamete and reaches to the ovary, and it fertilizes the ovary, okay, which carries the male gametes. Then male gametes are carried by pollen tube. How many male gametes can be carried? 2 male gametes. So pollen tubes carries the 2 male gametes to the stigma, reaches the ovary, and it fertilizes the ovary, and later it fertilizes the ovary and results in the formation of seed. Okay. So can you say, see, in bisexual plant, we said that, I just, we'll complete this once. In bisexual plant, self-pollination takes place, whereas cross-pollination takes place in which type of plant? It is in dioecious plant. In dioecious plant, cross-pollination take place. Or can you give another term for this dioecious plant? It is unisexual plant. Okay. So you have understood gamete transfer in seed plants. You have understood the gamete transfer in seed plants. Now, continuing this process of gamete transfer in seed plants, you have understood what is pollination, what happens after the pollination. So pollen grains reaches the stigma, pollen tube carries the male gametes to the ovary, fertilizes ovary, and results in the formation of seed. Okay, now let us see, and in dioecious animals, how this gamete transfer takes place in the dioecious. Sorry, if there is a spelling mistake while writing, you have to make correction in that, okay? In dioecious animals. In dioecious animals, the male and female gametes are produced in different individual. Okay, the male and female gametes are produced in the different individual, and so they have to evolve a special mechanism to ensure the fertilization. Okay, in dioecious animals, they have special mechanism for gamete transfer, and we remember this is the most critical event in the sexually reproducing organism. Success of this reproduction can be ensured only if they succeeds in the gamete transfer and able to fertilize the female gametes. So we say that the most critical and essential event in the sexually reproducing organism is gamete transfer, the most successful event, and as well as critical event in the sexually reproducing organism is the gamete transfer. Okay, then coming together of these gametes. So we have understood that. So now let me give a question to you. Name two processes which maintain the constant chromosome number from one generation to another. What is the two process which ensures the constant chromosome number from one generation to the next? Yes, you are right. It is meiosis. Meiosis and as well as fertilization. Meiosis and fertilization are the two events which maintains the constant chromosome number from one generation to the next generation. Meiosis and fertilization are the two events which ensures the constant chromosome number from one generation to the next generation, which ensures the meiosis and fertilization are the two events which ensures the constant chromosome number from one generation to next generation. Okay, so this is regarding the gamete transfer. Okay, later we have understood about gamete transfer, how it takes place in lower group of animals like in organism like algae. Then also we studied how this gamete transfer takes place in seed plants, that is pollination. What are two types of pollination? What is subsequent events after pollination, where pollen tube carries the male gametes, reaches the ovule, fertilizes the egg and results in the formation of seed. Again we are going to that topic in the end of this portion. Then in dioecious animals, that is again the gamete transfer has to be taken place. For that, meiosis and fertilization are the two events which ensures the continuity of species from one generation to the next generation. So next topic is fertilization. So in sexual reproduction we have completed what are the events we completed. We completed free fertilization, then fertilization. Now we are going with the next second event. It is fertilization. So as you know, it's a fusion of gametes. So once the gametes are brought together, next is fertilization occurs. Now we have another term for this. Fertilization can also be called as syngamy. The fusion of two gametes is called as fertilization. Another term is syngamy. What's another term for the fertilization? It is syngamy. Okay, we can say that this is also one of the most important event in the sexual reproduction. And the fertilization results in the formation of a diploid zygote. Results in the formation of diploid. Remember, zygote always diploid. Results in the formation of diploid zygote. Now what should happen to this zygote? We already completed once there. Is it in the previous video, where you have seen that zygote undergoes development, it undergoes mitotic division, then it develops into embryo. Okay, so embryogenesis, formation of embryo. So zygote has to undergo mitotic division and produces the embryo. Later embryo has to develop further and forms a new individual. Now suppose, okay, now it is a case. There is a case which happens in nature where syngamy does not occur. Sometimes syngamy cannot occur. Syngamy does not occur. So what will happen if the syngamy does not occur? Okay, it results that we call it, there is a process called as parthenogenesis. If the syngamy does not occurs, then there is a process called as parthenogenesis. So what is parthenogenesis? Definition, very important. Okay, it can be asked for 1 mark. Define parthenogenesis. What is parthenogenesis? Here, female gamete undergoes development to form new organism without fertilization. Female gamete undergoes development without fertilization. Female gamete. So, as according to our knowledge, what we have studied previously, information, all those what we collected, organism has to undergo fertilization, right? Okay. Female gamete, once they get fused, they have to undergo with the fertilization. And they'll develop into a new organism. But suppose this fertilization does not occur, what will happen? Yes, here they develop into a new organism. A female gamete undergoes development without the fertilization. And this phenomenon is known as parthenogenesis. Okay, take down the question. It's important to what is parthenogenesis, and you info NEET also. There are a lot of questions can be expected from this portion. Parthenogenesis, there are two types of parthenogenesis are there. Induced parthenogenesis and natural parthenogenesis. You heard of in honeybee. What are the three groups of honeybee? Worker, drone and queen. You know that worker is sterile, they haploid, and queen is diploid. This queen, from the queen, the fertilized egg will be there, unfertilized egg also there. The fertilized egg will develop into a queen, whereas unfertilized eggs will develop into the drones. So you have to collect more information on that, and there is also significance also there. The parthenogenesis has lot of significance in our nature. Okay, so parthenogenesis is a process of formation of a new individual, or it's a process by which a female gamete undergoes development without fertilization. Without fertilization, a female gamete undergoes development. Okay. So examples for parthenogenesis takes place in. Examples are, give example for parthenogenetic animals: rotifers, aphids, then rotifers, aphids, then honeybee, rotifers, aphids, honeybee, then some birds are there, lizards are there, birds, lizards, turkey. You heard of turkey? Okay, in this group of animals, the female gamete undergoes development without fertilization. So we call that process as parthenogenesis. Okay, please make a note of that, and it is important too. Okay, now we are going to understand where does syngamy occurs. You understood that fertilization is also process of fusion of gametes, which is also called syngamy. If the syngamy does not happen, we call it as parthenogenesis. Next is, where does this syngamy occurs? Well, where does this fertilization takes place? Okay, so this topic is also you have covered, or you might have studied little about that. Okay, fertilization. Can you name two types of fertilization? Two types of fertilization is based on the medium or based on the area. It is two types are there. What are the two types of fertilization? It is external fertilization and internal fertilization. External fertilization and internal fertilization. External fertilization means the fertilization which takes place outside the female body. It is not inside the female body. The fusion of gametes or fertilization of gametes are taking place. Fertilization process takes place outside the female body. Internal fertilization means if it is takes place within the body, within the organism, it is called as internal fertilization. Take down the examples for external fertilization. Remember, this external fertilization, it occurs in most of the aquatic organisms. Aquatic organisms have the external fertilization, like amphibians, right? Amphibians are found in water, then fishes, then amphibians, fishes, then the algae. Here, fertilization occurs outside the body of organism. Then that type of fertilization, we call it as external fertilization. Now, to the organisms which exhibits this external fertilization has developed evolved some special mechanism. Okay, they have a great synchrony between their two sexes, or they always have a great synchrony between their sexes, so that this fusion can be made easy even in their outside of their body also. Then one more feature is, okay, what are the special mechanism evolved to ensure the successful external fertilization? So they have show great synchrony between the sexes, and second is they produce a large number of gametes. So these organisms, students, hope that you are getting cleared about the topic. Okay, please make a note of all these important concepts, as well as you also should read the textbook, find out the more concepts related to this, more points related to these topics, and make thorough of that now itself. Okay. The two organisms which exhibits the external fertilization shows a great synchrony between the sexes, and a large number of male gametes are produced. Can you say why? Why there is a large number of male gametes are produced? It's already I started this topic, this video with the same concept, that to ensure the successful fusion of gametes. Okay, to ensure the successful fusion of gametes, because during the transfer in the water there is a chance of loss of gametes. So to compensate that loss, they produce a male gametes in large number. This is regarding the external fertilization. Okay. Next. This is one thing. Large number of male gametes also produce. Third, one more feature is that, external fertilization means which occurs outside their body. So they don't have that much safety. So already one mechanism they have made sure that which enables them to survive better. These two. And another is the offsprings are always produced in large numbers. For example, bony fishes and all. You might have seahorse. You can collect the video. You can see the video how the seahorse will give birth to the young ones. It gives birth to the young ones. A large number of offsprings are produced at once. About 300, 200 to 300. Up to that much offsprings they are producing. So that means it is a special capacity, or it is a special nature they developed to ensure their safety. Is it? You have some safety you will follow, right? After doing some mistakes or any mischiefs in the class, you yourself keep safe without telling, right? So likewise, these aquatic organisms also has ensured their safety of survival by following this mechanism. So the third feature is that the offsprings are produced in large number. Offsprings are produced in large number. So this is regarding the external fertilization. So out of these two, you say which which one will be the more advantageous? Yes, always internal fertilization is always better for their survival. But external fertilization has lot of disadvantages. Now, why in these days we are asked to sit at home, stay safe? Why we are telling like that? Because if you are coming out, the chances of virus attack is more. Okay, to make you safe from all this, we are all asked to stay at home itself. Likewise, here external fertilization has lot of disadvantages. As it is kept on the open places, there is a chance of loss of their gametes, and as well as these offsprings are laid on the open places. You know that how the snakes will come and catch of the small fishes, or sometimes even some other animals will come and catch the small offsprings which are laid on this water and all. So offsprings can be easily vulnerable to the predators. Okay, disadvantages of external fertilization. Disadvantages of external fertilization. One disadvantage is that it is easily vulnerable to the predators. Then also, that's why their offsprings are produced in large numbers. Okay, since they are exposed to their predators very soon, the easily vulnerable to the predators. They are easily vulnerable to the predators. Easily vulnerable to the predators. This is a disadvantage of external fertilization. So, this is regarding the one type of fertilization. Next, let us go with the internal fertilization. So, students got cleared about this external fertilization. So, next we'll see what is internal fertilization, whether it is advantageous or disadvantage. Okay. First, find out where does this internal fertilization takes place. In which organisms we can see this internal fertilization? It is found in most of the terrestrial organisms. In most of the terrestrial organisms. Which are those terrestrial organisms? It can be fungi. Also we can see this internal fertilization. Then higher animals. Which are the higher animals? We'll start from reptiles, mammals, birds, all these, right? They all follow the internal fertilization. Okay, internal fertilization is found in terrestrial organisms like fungi, reptiles, mammals, and birds. Okay, if you see, if among plants, you can also add among plants bryophytes. Also, they have internal fertilization. Then, which are the other groups? Pteridophytes, gymnosperms, and angiosperms. All these group of plants will follow the internal fertilization, where the fertilization occurs inside the body of organisms. So, here, egg is formed. We can see in birds. Egg is formed inside the birds. Okay, inside their body. Now, the eggs are formed inside their body, inside the female body. Okay, then in the seed plants, okay, in seed plants, male gamete is motile, okay, which is carried with the help of medium and which can help in the fertilization. Okay, so internal fertilization compared to the external fertilization has more advantages, and here the birds, for example, birds, they lay eggs which have the protective layering, so which helps for their protection. So they have more chances of survival comparing to the internal fertilization. Sorry, comparing to the external fertilization.